So this week's Tuesday Talk, we're going to talk about how we knew we could live tiny and how you could tell if you could live tiny. So I think the first way we knew is that we don't hate each other. Most of the time.
No, of course not.
No.
We could stand to be around each other, and I know that sounds kind of strange to say, but when you're in a 200 square foot Airstream or even something smaller, the things that annoy you about your partner, those things will become even more noticeable.
Yes.
So if that's going to be a problem, if you think that would be a problem, then chances are it probably will be for you.
Yes, and you can work through that, but it's something to know. Also, we tended to, even in our house, spend most of our time together. So the only exception to that would be that I would often sit on the couch and knit while Steve would be in the office working on his computer reading blogs. And so one of the things we did when we were trying to see if we thought this whole living tiny idea was going to work is we tried to do everything in the same room. We may be doing different things, but we do it in the same room. And that wasn't that hard because we kind of already did that.
Simple things, yes. Simple changes that you can make regardless of how big your house currently is right now. I mean, if you do close off rooms, or at least just do as much as you can in as small of a space as you can, just to get a feel for what it's like being around that person all the time, without going away into your space to have a little alone time every once in a while. Obviously, that's natural. That's going to happen. But the more you get used to being around the person or people that you're going to live with later, I think the better prepared you're going to be to actually make this transition.
Yes, and things will still annoy you, plenty. But
So what's that supposed to mean?
But you get
Okay, so I don't clean up after myself every time. Sometimes I wear my shoes in the Airstream.
Yes.
Sometimes, but
I'm more
I don't
of a-
track mud
No.
into the
No,
Airstream.
and I'm more
And
of a
sometimes I clean
stickler.
up after myself.
Yes.
Sometimes.
No, actually, Steve's really, really good. As you may see in some of our vlogs, he does the floors for me and things.
I take out the pee.
Yes, you do. So
If you haven't seen our other video, that's going to sound really strange, but I take out the pee.
he does. He's good like that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So the thing that helped with that was always everything had a space, everything had a place. So if you tend to be the type of person that is fine with things laying out, that's not going to work in a tiny home. I'm sorry. To some small extent maybe, but really not. And so what we did in the house before we even got in the Airstream was we designated places for everything. Anything that we were keeping, that is. We also got rid of a lot of stuff. We pretty much
downsized
went,
like crazy.
Yeah, way before we even bought the
Yard
Airstream.
sales, garage sales, trips to Goodwill.
Yes.
Almost every weekend.
Almost every weekend. And we closed
That was fun,
off
too.
whole areas of our house. So we had a 4-bedroom house. In the end, we were pretty much living in 4 rooms. Not 4 bedrooms, 4 rooms. The kitchen, the living room, the office,
The family
and
room.
the bedroom. The living room, family room.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much stuff in those rooms. So we kind of tried to make our space smaller by getting rid of stuff and then closing off the spare rooms. And that way we knew we had no problem with less space at all.
Yeah, space has never really been one of our priorities.
Yes.
In fact, we were touring motorhomes several months ago, and I walked into this huge condo on wheels. This is a 42-foot motorhome with slide outs, and I actually said out loud, I don't know what we would do with all this space.
Yeah.
And that was a motorhome.
Yeah.
That was something significantly smaller than your typical house.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about it before I said that because we're so used to this. You might be surprised about how little space you actually need to be happy.
Yes, that is very true. I mean, it depends on everybody's different, right? So this is just us. We really don't need that much space. We're perfectly content hanging out together. Steve is almost always at the dinette on his computer.
That's where my computer is.
And I'm almost always on the couch with my desk, either with a laptop or knitting. and we can see each other, and everything's fine. Steve has headphones. Compromise.
Headphones. If
Compromise
you like
is
watching
big.
TV or you're watching videos, headphones if the other person is not there watching with you.
Yeah.
And personally, I like the sound coming from my headphones better than the sound straight out of a TV or computer anyway, so it kind of works out well for both of us.
But yeah, compromise in general. So sounds, we'll sometimes both be watching different things with different headphones on. Light. So luckily we kind of keep the same schedule. We're both morning people. We both go to bed pretty early.
That helps a lot.
But if you keep separate schedules, it's a little bit tougher in a smaller space. There are ways to do it, don't get me wrong. But just know that that is a little bit tougher. Yeah. And just generally compromise. Just knowing that patience and compromise.
Patience and compromise, yeah.
Another way you might... Oh, are you going to have anything with that?
Well, no, I was just going to say, and the more you do this, the more you practice, the easier things will get, or you will know those things that you really don't think that you can live with, and maybe this lifestyle isn't for you. But I would be willing to bet more of us, just in general as a population, more of us can do this than what we probably realize.
Another point... I have 2 more points, but another point is that...
You have 2 more points.
I do.
I thought you had 1 more point.
Well, I have 2 more points.
We have food cooking on the grill,
I know.
mind you.
I just keep getting ideas. Anyway, so... I'm going to lose my point.
So you only have one more point now.
Okay, the first thing I was going to say is a way to know if you might be interested in tiny living is if you're absolutely obsessed with tiny homes on Pinterest, on all of the TV shows.
If you nerd out on YouTube, watching that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, that doesn't mean you could do it or we could do it, but it certainly gave us the clue that we were interested in it. Let's put it that way. And
That's true.
my other point's gone, but it was important.
Did it revolve around food?
No.
Oh.
We're talking about compromise and patience. Oh, you both got to be on the same page, or you all have to be on the same page. If you have one, no, I'm serious. If one person wants to have a lot of stuff, if someone is a collector in your group of people who wants to live in
The
an RV,
outlier, yeah.
or if you're the only person who wants to live
Yeah,
small, and
yeah, you
everyone's
might
a
be the
collector,
outlier.
yeah, that is something to consider. Neither one of us is a collector. I mean, I have a decent amount of yarn. And Steve has
Yeah.
quite a bit of camera equipment. It's growing. Yeah.
Yeah, I have
But-
camera equipment, but not like you have yarn.
But
Granted, you can kind of squish yarn and
yes.
shove it into places.
And
Can't really
I
do
got
that with
rid
camera
of
equipment.
Tons before I moved into the Airstream. So
Yeah,
if
I
you
witnessed that
need to have
scenario.
a lot of stuff for whatever reason, or if one person in your family is more of a collector and it makes them uncomfortable not to have that stuff, it makes them sad, it makes them upset, that is something to consider, because this lifestyle, like I said, is not for everybody, and living tiny is not for everybody, and you can't force it. I don't think. I think that's a recipe for disaster.
I think you'll quickly know.
Yeah.
I mean, if
But
for
you
some
don't want to necessarily move into an RV with someone with the idea being that they'll change
Certainly
and
not
not
move
be a
in,
collector
yeah.
anymore. No. Try it at home. Most people I know who have lived tiny, who have gone to tiny, have stayed where they are for a while and gotten rid of stuff and tried to live tiny in a bigger space. That, I think, is the number one way to see if this is going to work, in my opinion.
start with getting rid of stuff. Yeah,
Get rid of stuff and live in the space you have, but live tiny.
That's hard to disagree with.
Yeah.
And be aware of those things that might bother you, and really ask yourself if they should bother you.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the first question. I ask myself that a lot, and I keep saying no.
No.
So.
Steve's pretty easygoing. I'm the more, I care more. I'm getting better. So.
You do care more.
I do care more. So I think that's it. I don't know if you can hear the music. We're kind of dancing to mariachi music right now because there's an event going on at our KOA.
The KO, yeah.
And so if you hear if there is background music that you can hear, we did not add that. That is mariachi music in the background.
That
So.
was mood music.
music.
I
provided
totally added
by
that.
the KOA.
Yeah.
So that's it for this Tuesday talk. I hope you found that helpful. And as always, if you have any questions for us regarding Airstream living, tiny living, anything. Well,
Downsizing?
almost anything.
Yeah.
Please let us know in the comments, and
I keep smelling dinner.
I know, it smells good.
I'm sorry. Like it.
Like it.
Like the video. Comment if you have the need to, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.